Morning, everyone. In this video, we're going to just talk about recent events that happened and then some Midnight Sun stuff, what's coming up, blah, blah, blah. LVO was just this weekend. I don't know if it ended in a different way than people expected, maybe different than we were hoping to some extent, but, for those who watched, DeLuca won the GT with his Asgard Cabal. I'll say Dormammu technically is there, and while he played it at Everwinter, he did not play it in his. He played 6 games plus 5 in his 11 games. He didn't play Dormammu at all. So I know it was there for some tech. I'm curious. I don't remember what it was, but I feel like maybe at Everwinter. I'm speaking just from the sidelines. I have no idea. I know. I think he lost his 2 games with Dormammu and Everwinter. So maybe it was for like Asgard or certain threat levels. Maybe he didn't hit him, or maybe he felt less confident in it and wanted to just play the mirror or something instead. I don't know. But he didn't use it since then. So it was really Asgard Cabal. Um, and then the Invitational was won by Eric Wong with Asgard. Again, no one is, I don't think, surprised. Like, these are all good players, right? Like, if you look at the top 4 was Bots, Greg. At the end, Bots lost tiebreaker and stuff. But, like, the 4 people that were in the bracket at the end was Eric, DeLuca, Greg, Uri, and Bots. And I don't think anyone's, like, it's not, if they weren't there, you wouldn't be, like, super shocked because, like, there were good people, like, Nobility had to play DeLuca early in the bracket. I heard that was close. Bots played Ron, and that was close early in the bracket. So, like, there's always good players that could get there. But you don't see those 4 players and go, oh, wow, how did they make it there, right? I think it was, you're like, oh, I can see that. And then, the rosters, they're the rosters, right? Like, okay, we have a good Midnight Suns roster and Bots, and, I'm a fanboy of it because I talk to Bots a lot and I like Midnight Suns. And then we have the Asgard roster, we have a Thanos Cabal, and then we have Thanos Cabal plus Asgard, right? Like, Mike just put them both together. He has the pieces of both. He has, I guess, Dormammu's there taking up a spot doing nothing. But it seems like both those lists had a lot of pieces that didn't get used a lot, like the Asgard. I'm sure had stuff that, like, I think he had Thanos. I don't know if he ever used it, but he might have. I know he had plans for it. Again, you don't, you're not like, I'm just very in on it, right? Like we all did. It happened last year at LVO when it was the CGR Hulk mirror. This ended up being a mirror with Loki for Sif on Demon's Virus. And it was more exciting than the game last year, for sure. To be honest, I didn't really watch either one much. Um, but it's just kind of like, meh, a little lame, in my opinion. Nothing against the players. Obviously, you play what you want to win and need to win. It's just not like that exciting from a outsider perspective, but you also can't hate on somebody for playing the best things. I think the funniest thing is Eric played the Invitational with defenders, his portal defenders that he always does so well with. And then 2 Asgard beat him, and then he said, "Fuck this," and he took his Asgard to the main 1-1. I know he had been playing Asgard to help people practice and stuff, so it's not like he was raw dogging it, but it wasn't like his main thing at the time. And but Asgard or Asgard, I don't know what else to say, right? They're here for a little bit until hopefully maybe something gets changed with Thanos and Endor, and we'll see what happens with the Crisis. Um, with the Crisis being semi-revealed, like, right, I think of 2 we could see clearly of the new 10. We don't know what's leaving. We don't know what's staying. We don't know if other things are changing. We don't know if they're going to adjust how you pick secures. That's another thing too. You can see a new secure and say, "Oh my gosh, that's so exciting! It's gonna go great when I play Infinity and something else." Then you realize they go, "Oh wait, you can't play those 2 together, or Infinity's leaving." So I try not to. You can't read too deep in anything until you hear it all. I mean, I hate spoilers. Like I've said this before on my channel. I just want to see the new stuff and I want to play it. Like I don't like seeing things way ahead of time. I just think it kind of detracts from the excitement. Just show me it all and let's get to going with the new stuff. But that being said, LVO's over, Everwinter's over. We don't really have anything personally. Like I can't go to my local. That's in 2 weeks. I don't have any big like outside online stuff until Everwinter, or not Everwinter, Squad Goals, which is in May, and the Meatmen will be going back. Um, so, I'm kind of in a holding pattern until the changes come, whenever that may be. Whether it's before Adepticon, Adepticon. I expect character changes. I expect crisis changes. Um, Pretty much a big mix-up. I hope it's bigger than a breadbasket and not. And I hope they deal with some of the more annoying stuff, and we'll see what new stupid stuff comes out of it. It's interesting because there's the Weekender, which is like the 80-person event in UK, and so our top four was Thor, Thanos Cabal, Eyehawk stuff, right? Midnight Suns, and which actually I guess yeah, and over there their top four was X-Men, Kingpin, Asgard, which played the Kingpin side I think more, and Webs, right? So it's kind of a weird dichotomy. It's just meta thing. What people are playing. I mean, there was a lot of Asgard and Cabal at this event. There's a lot of Midnight Suns at this event, to be completely honest with you. So I got to stop playing them apparently. Shout outs to Toast being the only convocation player. He lost on stream. He did play my duel where I think he stole it. I mean, he says he stole it from me. We talked about it. He switched Magic for Mordo. His game on stream, I think he'll admit that he got a little. He wasn't sure what Mike was going to take, and so he took like a little bit of weird list. He's also not. I mean, this is where reps come in, right? Like he only had like 3 Midnight Suns games, so it's kind of hard to like if you don't play both sides of it, you don't have like the turn 0 and turn 1 stuff down. Like it can get tough to play the. I mean, same with anything, right? Like even for all purposes, like never playing Asgard before. I mean, that's not true, right? Jordan won the last lunch meet with Asgard, and he just basically said it's super easy and it's not hard at all. So he doesn't win as much with everything else, but he wins a decent bit. But if you don't play Suns that much, like the opening stuff might be a little tough to like get a handle on, or just think about, right? Like it's easy after the fact or when you're planning on paper, but in the moment, it can be difficult. But I'm proud of him anyway. He was the only convocation player there. Just a lot of fighty stuff, and I think that is really tuning the list a certain way. So Bots went 8-2 overall, so great to him. He only lost to Asgard and Cabal. He lost to Eric and Gregory, so it's like okay, you lost 2 of the best players there, playing 2 of the best lists, and it seemed to be really close games, is what he told me. And so his list is different than mine, but not much. I think one thing we said was. So he had this, but he had Werewolf by Midnight and Namor with Time Gen instead of these 2. And then when he went to find cuts, or when he went to the Invitational, because he won with that list 4-0 in the qualifier, he dropped Frank for Thor 2. So, I saw him play. I talked a lot in a video about this 17 of Blade, Voodoo, Frank, Red Skull 2 on like infinities and stuff, and I am so over it. Like I played a game with it that was close and I didn't feel good. I watched him play a game with it and I was like, this doesn't feel good. There's something about it that maybe it's that it doesn't. It's probably something to do with not taking as big advantage of priority. So I think in the game right now, if you're not playing on like the extreme scenario stuff like the X-Men or the Webs or the Hellfire, I think there can be having like turn 2 priority like can be like so freaking big. You also need to be able to take advantage of it, right? Like models like Thanos and the Eyehawk and Thor 2 like all take super big advantage of having priority turn 2, and so like being able to go really tall really helps. But I feel like on Infinity without Eyehawk, like it doesn't feel the same. Like Frank, Voodoo, and Blade are not like rocking it with priority all the time. Red Skull can be good, but a lot of times using for safe grab, you might not have like a great turn truce thing to set up and like really get the game going. And so I feel like the comeback mechanic of the rest of the team isn't that good. To the point that I would probably drop Frank and just roll with like a Blade, Immortal Hawk, Lockjaw, Mummy 17 or something and just say, okay, I got my Hulk or some other three. It doesn't have to be Lockjaw, and just say, the Grunts and Red Skull 2 are very good at 17 on Infinity. You don't have to have them. I mean, this is where you maybe even put in Werewolf by Night so that you can have like the other version of it, where you take other stuff. Yeah, I don't know. If I was to change my roster, so he also never played Lockjaw because it never came up. I think that was a meta thing too, where like you think of Lockjaw with all these safe grabs and stuff, and he's been very good for it when I've done it, but like it just hasn't come up a lot. Like even for me, when I've done it, I've been like, man, like should I do it? Is it good? Should I just do it with somebody else? Even I guess a better example is we talk about that 19 where it's like Blade, Voodoo, Mummy, Red Skull 2, Lockjaw. I do think that's like a strong 19 if you're playing like, I don't know, some D-shaped senators and it's your senators or something. Like then I really like it. But if you're playing like Infinity Virus, like I'd rather probably just take the Immortal Hulk, Red Skull 2, Blade, Mummy one and say, okay, I have two safe grabs. I have very good threat on the midline with the characters I have. Like Blade or Mummy could raw dog the middle one depending on priority, and just like have priority all the time. And like Ihawk smashing people, and then Red Skull doing his thing. Two very powerful activations with obviously Mummy doing his thing, and the Grunts counting as 5 models. I think when the Grunts go from 5 to 6 models, it's still good if you're playing like Scoundrels or something. But if you're playing Infinity, you don't need 6 models to stand on secures. 5 is more than enough, even 4, depending on the threat level, is more than enough. So, I think there's a world where I don't think we missed Wong, but I don't think we needed Lockjaw either. So I think that's like a weird dichotomy where, I have people, please God, don't come at me. The viewers, you know who you are, and I'm not yelling at you, but like, don't, if I say like I'm going to drop Lockjaw for a little bit, do not come at me with your I told you so, because I'm not putting back in Wong right now either. Though there are worlds where both of them work. I like them both in their own ways, but meta-wise, maybe it doesn't make sense to have them both in there. I could also see dropping Iron Fist, to be completely honest with you. Like, maybe, I don't even know if there's good teams where you need both threes, and there's probably a world where you can just take Mummy all the time and not give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, you just be like, I'll just take Mummy, and then plan for maybe more of the extreme cases. I mean, these are ideas that's like, okay, I don't know what's coming with the meta or the secures, or the changes. Like, God knows what's going to change. And so this is me just spitballing ideas that are like, okay, I've done this for 25 games. What have I learned in the 25 games? Okay, I've learned that Blade, Mummy, Ihawk, Red Skull 2 are all really good. And Voodoo, right? So those 5 models I think are really, really good. And I probably would always take them. I think that the Blade, Ihawk, Red Skull, Mummy 19, and then the 16 version where you drop Mummy, or where you drop Ihawk and add Voodoo. And Bots played that one on stream versus Webs in one, which was a close game, but it's still, it's a good team. Invasion. So I think those give you 16 and 19 coverage. And technically 20 because you can upgrade Voodoo to Mummy to Voodoo at 20. So that gives you Ihawk coverage for a lot of threat values, right? Everything but 17, 18. I guess 18 you could just drop Red Skull for Voodoo if you want. But that's like base coverage for a lot of things. And at 15, then it's technically a 15, but you don't have to worry about 15 too much. And then I guess you can slot in models to kind of fill the role. So if I was to go back and just copy this roster, right, and edit it. Let's just say that Frank is gone, Iron Fist is gone, A-Bomb's gone. Say something like this is gone. I mean, this is where the whole duel came from. The convocation side was, I have these 3 models in my convocation roster. I just need to add these 2, and I can play them both. If I was going to stick with Pure Sons, there was an idea that what's his name, Boots talked about, and people have talked about this one, and I wrote it off, and it's the most boring fucking pick in the world. But I do think there's a world where if you compare Zemo to Lockjaw's safe grabs are much more versatile because he can go. I don't know if Zemo makes it between two uh, viruses. He also needs a card to do it. But I think there is a little bit of value in Zemo, in doing it with the Zemo for two things. I'm going to make the case for Zemo as a 3-threat safe grab. And I don't want people who listen to this to be like, this is the truth. You know, you can take your Wongs, your Voodoos, whatever, your Lockjaws, whoever you want. This is my case for it if I'm going to go for it. If I'm like in a debate school and I have to defend this. He is a 3-threat safe grab that takes a card, but the card is very good on him regardless. So even if you... It's one of those like double-sided ones where like if you don't have priority and you want to put like Red Skull 2 across from one and Zemo across from the other, they have to decide which one they're going to get, and you can safe grab the other one if you want. And the card can be used to like rip a chart. You don't even need it turn 1 with Zemo because you can walk, bump, and attack somebody on the midline, and then use the card later. Like the fact that it's a good card, period, I think gives it a lot of use. One thing that's, it gives it a lot of juice. Where like if you don't use it turn 1, you're not like, it's like if you don't use Eyes on the Prize turn 1 back when it was allowed, it was a very mediocre card. Like there's moments where you could pull something off that was kind of cool, but like for the most part it was crap, right? But this is different, where it's like, okay, you threaten the safe grab, and if they don't, you have Zemo, right? It's not like Lockjaw could do similar things where you could teleport somebody up, but like it's just a different notion. And so all those games where you're running like for example, Eyehawk, Mummy, Blade, Zemo, right? All of a sudden on Infinity becomes pretty powerful because you can safe grab a Zemo, get back to an Infinity, and all of a sudden you have charge power turn 2. Eyehawk can threaten another one. Mummy does his thing. It's not the greatest turn 1 there, to be completely fair, but like I guess if you compare it to like the Red Skull version, it's probably like similar if not better in its own way. Like that's one reason. There are teams where like the 19 that you would take Lockjaw if you just take Zemo. Like I think you lose a lot of weird round 1 stuff, but you can kind of cover your bases anyway. I think being a threat of a safe grab without having to commit to it and then being a good fast model on top of it is a boringly good answer. It's funny because like if you do it this way and then you want to take Abomination, you can actually take like a pretty funny like Red Skull 2 Hydra roster. I don't know if that solves any issues that you might have, but it's the options are there. So I could see Zemo being where Lockjaw is as an idea, and just taking the card. And I mean, do you have cards? I mean, you would drop this, obviously. I don't know. I could see dropping Danny too. Like, I don't give a shit about Elsa. I mean, I don't. I'm not gonna play without Bump if I play Suns. Pretty sure. So like, she's not even on my radar. If you want to make an Elsa list, don't come here because I don't know how to do it. But Man Thing is something that I think we could talk about if he could fill Danny's spot or be there somehow. So he's a short mover. I don't know if I've ever talked about him. Being immune to Hex and Stun is actually pretty good. He's an interesting one because he can, on like a 19, like if he comes in for Danny, he's kind of an interesting add-on to where Mummy would be at 19. Because he is immune to stun if you're playing on like what's it called? Damn it. I don't know. I was thinking about something. He's an interesting 19. Fisk. If you're playing on Fisk, like he's kind of cute, like compared to Mummy. They both can like get rid of stun, so I guess it's really not that. Mummy's just really good. But he's like an interesting guy to like. He's kind of like that he's not the midpoint of Lockjaw and something else, but like, okay, his teleport is not an action, and it's very good. He needs power for it, and he's not likely to have like a ton of power. But if people like, if you go pick up an extra, like he's somebody where I'm like, I could pick up an extra. Like I actually think he might be very good with Suns, because if you put an extract on him, he just becomes very annoying. Healing factor 2 is always annoying. Okay, he's 3/3/4 with 6, but he has healing factor 2. Like his stat line, he's not much harder to kill. Logan is about as hard to kill as this guy, right? Logan's 4/4/2. He's 3/3/4. They both have healing factor 2. They both have 6 health. Is he 6'5"? I think he's worse on the backside. Yeah. But he's also a 3 threat, right? So he's a very annoying model to kill. You don't get crits versus him, which is actually huge. Actually, has a very big ability. Like the fact that you can't spike him, like a 5-die attack cannot kill him, is very good. After attack made by the character's result or attack targeting the character's result, if the damage was dealt, the enemy character with 2. Like gaining incinerate, if he attacks you, like if he damages you and then he pulls you in with his tendrils, you can get incinerate, or if you attack him and get incinerate, that's really annoying. It's one of those things that like, okay, if he picks up something and holds it and just kind of is jacking off, like, okay, he's not the greatest model in the world, but he's not bad. And if you go in on him and fail, he like is super obnoxious, because not only does he can teleport a bunch, it's really just that he teleports a bunch. And if you like, I guess if you compare him to Lockjaw in that case, you lose a ton of turn 1 stuff, safe grabs, early pressure. Like you can't really compare it like that. But as far as like the mid game stuff goes, more threat range with dice. He can't be spiked. You know, he's healing factor 2, which is really big. I actually think he can be I actually think he's pretty good now that I'm reading him more. I think he could have a lot of tools. A lot of the stuff that I do with Lockjaw, like late in the turns, I think he could do. He doesn't gain as much power, but like if people have to, again, I think you want an extract on him. I think you want an extract, whether it's a cube, whether it's something, just something to force people to either attack him, or he's just a 3-threat throwing dice that's hard to spike, right? Like if he doesn't have something on him, I would feel a little like, I hope he can do something. But you know, if he spikes an attack with 5 dice or pulls somebody in, I mean, like shit can happen. He can hit the midline turn 1 with bump. And does he even need bump? I think he needs bump to do it. 15 millimeters is only, he needs bump. So with bump, he can hit he can hit somebody on the midline if he wants. Potential to pull him in. Like I said, like the fact that if he's loaded up with power, he can like teleport himself, teleport a friend, rearrange the board. And the other thing I like about that a lot is rotation wise. Like if you are like on a D shape, yeah, he's slow. It's very hard to get between. I mean, he can always get between them because he could bump, walk will always get you there, or most of the time get you there. But if they spike him or they try to attack him and don't spike him, not only does he healing factor 2, but now he can like teleport himself 3, which is almost like him double walking, move and still have move again, or still have, you know, an ability he could attack and then do something. So I actually think he'll be pretty freaking decent. I would probably put him in over Danny for now, just from a pure like tankiness. And then like this is on, I mean, everything I've said is on top of the fact that you don't get like the incinerate in a brawl could just be really good. I don't know if I'd use this card. It's cool. It's a card slot. Probably not going to use it. I would probably put Man-Thing in. I know he's unreleased, but I would probably swap him in over Danny. Because I think if there are going to be double 3-threat teams, it might just be him. I like that he's like tanky-ish. Like the no crits especially. The fact that he can't be spiked down. So there are times where like, you know, he can't die to like a sacrifice. Like I think he's a great sack target too, because there are times he can't. So it's like multiple things, right? Like, so let's say you're sacking to him. You know he can't. You know that if they can't crit, he might not be able to die, right? Like let's say they only have a 5 dice attack, or if they have a 6 dice, it's unlikely. Even a 7 dice attack, I don't even know when the math is. Like being hex is annoying. So he's that. He has healing factor 2, so that if he does take some damage and he gets to activate, it's good. If they're within 2 inches of him, they're going to get incinerated. And him getting power can be very good because if he gets to go next, he can do some teleport shenanigans, right? So you get like these things where like he's like an excellent sack target. Oh, he's defenders? Boom. I don't know why it matters for this. Yeah, I'm down with the man thing. I would at least try him. Danny with Heroes for Hire. Listen, I'm not here to degrade him. In fact, I want people to know this ahead of time. The list I ran, I think, thumbs up, good to go. You can run that list I ran. This is purely me being like, I ran it for a lot. I see some of the meta things, where the meta's going. I would like to try these things to get ahead of like the next step, and maybe, the thing is you have to try stuff. That's what I want to put it out to people. I don't think I've lost a Lockjaw game 1. It's not like this list is, I've lost 3 games, I think. I've lost 3 games with this roster. 2 to Thor 2. 1 to like a weird list where Brady ran. And it's like 30 games almost. So that's not I'm just to say that's not like I've been beaten down and like my confidence is shot. It's more just like I've seen stuff and like, oh, hey, what could be tried. So I think I'd make these 2 changes and give a valiant attempt at Zemo. I do think if you make this change, there's a world where you go back to Werewolf. I think Werewolf needs at least more play. I need to personally try him more, because I feel like I've done him a disservice by only playing him in that weird 17, which he won both games. Like, don't get me wrong, he did not do that bad. But I've done a disservice, and this actually, if you play both of these 2, it kind of gives you a reason to play instant recovery. Like, I feel like I've done a disservice to him by not having him there and not giving him a fair shot. He is affiliated. I think there's a team where it's these 3, which is 16, and then you could put in like if you had a Shang or a Bill. I actually think it's really interesting to run like these 3 and Bill, because Bill's a safe grab, obviously, just like Red Skull 2 is. So if you think of it like Voodoo instead of Werewolf, like you're thinking of Voodoo Red Skull 2 versus Werewolf Bill, like I feel like it feels very obvious that Red Skull 2's version's better. But the one thing I like, if I have to say, about this version is Voodoo, you can count his throw as a throw. I don't count it too much, and I don't count Red Skull 2 Spender as a throw. This version is tankier for sure. Werewolf and Bill are way tankier than the others. But they also have throws, right? So now you have, depending on terrain and the enemy, you have Eyehawk, who has a ton of throws, who basically turns on the fact that Werewolf has a pounce and a throw on his Spender, right? Who's more likely to use his Spender than the other one. And then Bill has a natural throw. And the nice part is they're all either a pounce or character throw. So that's a big deal too. So like, it's not just terrain. Like, Eyehawk turns on Werewolf pounce in his own right. Like, honestly, like, I am so on the Red Skull 2 train, and for very good reason, that I think it's a disservice to Werewolf being affiliated and being good with Eyehawk. And I think Bots said this too. I think there's teams where you run these, and even a 19 where you could possibly run like this. Well, I'd still run the other one probably. But like even Werewolf with like Zemo or something, if you took him, could be interesting. He doesn't have a throw, but I don't know. I think it's worth. And I guess when I put it this way, it's more of a forcible. I want to force myself to like do it, in a sense, right? Like I want to say, okay, so like I think Bill should be in this roster. I don't know. I think he's good here. And then for the last spot, if Zemo took, I gotta find I Am a Baron. Okay. Baron. And then instant. Right? I have one card left. I also think Recal, in seeing it played a lot and just being in the meta we're in, is a very good card and should probably be physically played more by me. I'm not saying like it's been in my roster a lot, but like I should actively play it more. Am I missing a card? What am I missing? I guess not. I guess I dropped Tears for Hire and I dropped the Hideous Monster and I got these two. And I had Gamma Burst, which was just like an extra card because I had A-Bomb. I don't know what the last spot should be in this roster. I guess the other thing I kind of like about this roster is Blade, Voodoo, Mummy. I guess Man-Thing being kind of poor versus Webs is a big deal. I think there's 17s where you run like Blade, Voodoo, Mummy, and then 3/3, and I guess I need another 3. Like it could be Panther or something. I don't know. It looks a little weird, right? Like I don't know. I feel like you could think about what threat levels you're like lacking in. I actually think you're 17 of like Blade, Eyehawk, Voodoo. No, Blade, Eyehawk, Mummy, Zemo might be really good on Infinity. You can still go the Werewolf Red Skull 2 version with either Man-Thing or Mummy. You have some options at 20, like I've said before, with Red Skull and Beta Ray. With Voodoo as well. Are you 19? You have, in my opinion, one of the best 19s in Blade, Eyehawk, Red Skull 2, Mummy. 16, we have good 16s, 15s or whatever. I guess 17 D shapes are the weirdest ones. Even then, you can go those. You can go Red Skull. 18. What's our 18? You can go Voodoo. Okay. I'm going to leave this spot open for now because I don't have an answer for it. I'll give you some thoughts. It could be Wong. It could be Abomination. It could be Shang. It could be Bullseye. I think all have purposes to go here. I think if you're in the position where you want to run... Like if you get hammers... Yeah, I don't know. I kind of don't like that. I don't know. I don't have a good answer yet. Like, being able to take Wong and go like Wong... I don't know if Wong, Eyehawk, Red Skull 2 Blade is good. And I guess on the bigger maps, it's like, okay, I don't know. It could be A-Bomb. It could be Abomination. It could be Wong. I don't know. I could also see... Oh, I think I could see two things here. I think Man-Thing is very worth trying. And I could see a world where Man-Thing or Zemo is gone. And you just don't take both of them. And then you add in like Wong and A-Bomb or something else. Or Lockjaw back. Or Panther to run like a weird wide 17. Yeah, I think there's some options there. But I like the idea of that. I also, or Clocks or something, or 6 threat, or Thor 2. Fuck Thor 2, but I get why Bots plays Clocks here. I'm not saying it's 100% needed, but also like if it was today's meta, I'd probably just put Thor 2 in there, honestly, and just say fuck it. If it comes up, it comes up. We'll play it. But yeah, kind of cool. I'll just save that. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say. I'm playing in the league. I'm playing either Suns or Convo or the Mix. In the new lunch meet, I'm playing the duel that I talked about before that people tried to copy and it didn't work. Would I have changed anything knowing what I just conversated now? Probably not. I still think the bill is an interesting one. He's probably the most open slot. I really don't think you can drop anything else in this roster and be viable. I mean, you can be viable, but like, I guess there's a world where like, if Beta Ray was something else, like he could be Zemo, right? Like, it kind of, if you go in the conversation we just had, Bill being Zemo wouldn't be the end of the world. You wouldn't be able to fit a card, though. I mean, that's a big deal. The problem here is the cards are just so good and so tight that, like, they just don't work if you have a card needed. This list is good. We'll see if it works out. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Thanks for listening. Congrats to bots.